let's move on and talk to Josh in Newfoundland.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, Newfoundland.
Yeah, I had to look up what the abbreviation for that was, but I think I got it right. Hi, Josh.
Josh.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry, I grew up with Newfies, and that's my only connection to Newfoundland. And I know it's not
amazing.
It's tenuous, but I just have a love now. So what's up? What do you want to talk about?
Well, it's still there. Well, I just got into my field. I'm soon going to be a teacher, and as you might understand, that's a kind of a semi public field.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Therefore, I'd be in the public eye. And I've been doing a lot of looking, and from the looks of things, the only secular skeptic type groups, organizations are on the mainland, like in the greater part of Canada. Mm-hmm. There's like next to nothing here, and plus the population is relatively religious, especially the old people. We have an aging population.
Sure.
But I know for a fact on some level that a lot of the young people can be atheists. They can be generally agnostic. They can also there's also a great deal of non-religious spiritualists, like semi-New Agers, witches, things like that. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to ask you guys if should I attempt, or at least find some channel to promote secularism in the town, and if so, if I'm able to, how would I be able to go about that?
Well, I think your first step is to line out some clear, achievable goals. If you don't set out small steps for yourself, it will feel like you're running in place. And if you set goals that are absolutely undoable, it's going to feel like a failure. So the first question is, what do you have? What is there? And then what would you be able to build off of that? So are there any secular skeptic groups, atheist groups in your area?
That's the thing. There's like nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. Like most of the people I'm aware of, they're just dotted here and there. Mm-hmm. And there are like alternative groups in terms of like the non-Christian groups, but even then, like those are usually like relegated to the other religions, and those that are So and those other groups that sorry,
no,
the other groups that would be like have most of the people that would probably align with this are usually like very mixed, and often enough they're just like gaming groups and stuff like that. People usually just minding their own business, and oftentimes there's like the quite liberal Christians part of this. So, and I have a number of liberal Christian friends that I wouldn't exactly want to like alienate.
Right.
I think then if you want to get something going, what's interesting is in the notes it says you want advice on how to promote skepticism in your area. I think you need to take some preliminary steps before that's a possibility. If you are the one person standing outside of the courthouse holding a sign or whatever the case is, you're going to look like the guy that's just outside yelling at the birds or yelling at the clouds. It's not gonna get any traction. But maybe see if you can, maybe hop on Meetup or just put your feelers out there and see if there are any skeptic, atheist, agnostic type people in your area who'd want to meet. And that's just because you're asking about your local area. There are other ways that you can be active online.
I've been doing that plenty.
Oh, yeah.
Like at least up until recently.
Okay.
Good. I kind of think you may have hit the jackpot there when you were talking about, well, all the people who would agree with me are doing other things in other groups, right? Gaming groups, for example. I think if you listened to the earlier call, Nick is going to be doing a Twitch stream where he games and also talks about skepticism and rational thinking and atheism. So especially if you're a teacher and you're thinking about making a space for the kids and maybe their families, it might be really nice to provide a space for them to hang out after school and game together, and maybe focus on games that inspire those kinds of conversations. Like the Talos Principle, for example, is one of my favorites, and it has questions about the reality of God and the universe baked into it. And so maybe a lot of the uphill battle here is that religions, Christianity or otherwise, tend to create those after-school options a lot more, or those childcare options. So people who aren't necessarily religious are kind of pigeonholed into choosing, well, I mean, does my kid sit at home or does my kid go to youth group, right? And if we want the kid to have friends, then he has to go hang out with these guys, and they happen to be Christian, and that's not really comfortable, but it's better than the alternative. So maybe just creating an alternative space for play and for community that maybe subtly evokes conversations that wouldn't happen elsewhere is sufficient, at least at first. And then if you have a lot of people show up, then maybe you can have that secondary conversation of, okay, so now how do we move this into a space where we can talk about these things overtly?
That's a good idea, actually. I'd like to bring up a few years ago when I was still in university, there are a lot of like religious groups trying to promote and advertise, and one of them actually ended up using like some heavy the Matrix theme stuff, like years after, right? Which is funny because the new trailer came out.
I know, I'm so excited.
Very much, but yeah. It heavily leaned on that kind of thing, even though it's a university area where people generally are usually exposed to multiple kinds of thinking. My main concern is that considering it's youth, I'm high school, like grade 7 to 12, that kind of thing. So like my main thing is largely security, so to speak.
Yeah.
Sure. What subject do you teach?
Biology, actually.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh my gosh.
Okay.
So
Honestly, I
here's.
can't wait to start teaching evolution.
Nice.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, just in the worst case scenario, and mind you, if this advice isn't good for you, hopefully it is good for other people who are watching, who are wanting to do the same thing. It seems like this is the activism episode.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Josh, I imagine that there are communities where there are not people who are skeptics or who are not comfortable meeting up in public.
Imagine that, a community where there are no skeptics.
Well,
What a strange concept.
okay, who aren't comfortable meeting up in public or have, buried that. So another thing you can do is just promote STEM literacy. I mean, if you're gonna, if you have the opportunity to, even if it's not about the religion, but if it's about growing a curiosity in people to want to learn more about the world around them, and then show them the right questions to ask so that they can learn more about it and move forward on their own. If you can inspire people to create those groups, then that's another incredible step. It's just making sure that you're lining up what you're trying to do with expectations that are reachable,
Yeah, my main goal, in fact, as a teacher, is to promote STEM literacy because, given everything going on in the world, I feel that's one of our main hopes.
Absolutely. I think that you and people like you are going to be instrumental in making sure that those conversations get the attention that they deserve. And I think a biology teacher having a science club after class, or just promoting science in the classroom, is not only 100% expected and like within your wheelhouse, it can do so much good. Some people that I follow online, I bring them up all the time because they're my favorites, but Pelagia and Vice Rhino, they were creationists who started the deconversion process because they learned about things like evolution and biology. So you might have sitting in your classroom when classes start, the next person who is going to become a great skeptical communicator of science. And the only thing that is standing between that and their path is this moment where you have the opportunity to introduce those questions to them, right? So just even if it feels like it's not landing 90% of the time, and believe me, as someone who does this, it feels like it isn't landing 90% of the time, it really, really is going to matter down the road in ways you might not even be around to see. So, soapbox retired.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for calling in, man.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.